Den of Thieves 2 is the sequel to the 2018 heist film that you either never heard of, never saw, or saw and instantly forgot. Yeah, there's no in between. This film follows Gerard Butler's character as he follows O'Shea Jackson Jr.'s character to Europe and joins his new crew as they rob the World Diamond Center. So yeah, as you can tell by my obviously high opinion of the first film, I was not very excited for this sequel. I thought the original Den of Thieves was easily the most okay, middle-of-the-road film to come out in all of 2018, and almost a decade later, with them releasing a sequel, the only question on my mind was just, why? Why did this have to be made? Who was asking for a Den of Thieves 2? So while I wasn't looking forward to this film, I went in with the slightest amount of optimism that maybe that question would be answered. And considering the fact that the guy right next to me was snoring through the entire film, yeah, that question was not answered. This is just as meh as the first film, probably even slightly worse. Easily this film's biggest problem is its pacing. It is so slow, so dry, and so boring. Throughout the entire first third, while you see cookie crumbs of the eventual WDC heist, there's not a lot of chemistry, character, or comedy linking the scenes together. And while no one's bad in the movie, they're all just sort of going with the flow of it. There's nothing that really stands out in that first third. And mind you, when I say boring, I mean almost to the point of tedium. When Butler and Jackson's character meet up, it's not in like the first 15 minutes or so, it's at the end of the first third. The pacing of that entire beginning is so tediously boring. But then you get to the middle of the movie, and that's where it does kind of shine. Because again, while the actors themselves aren't great and the characters are pretty bland, the actors clearly all have great chemistry with each other. Seeing the different actors bounce off of each other, their personalities clearly clicking, that's where this movie's really fun. There's an entire 10-minute sequence where all the members of this heist crew are at a party just getting drunk and high, and then later on, Butler and Jackson's character just go out for a meal. All of this has nothing to do with the plot, and yet it was the only part of the movie that I was actually fully invested in. If the first third just had more characters interacting with each other on that personal basis, that really could have helped the movie, at least on a pacing level. Even in that middle portion of the movie, just seeing how every single character is going to pull off the heist is actually really intriguing. Because it's not just them in complete silence, slight ambiance music in the background, and them working it out on a computer like in the first third. All the characters are actually talking to each other, building a connection, and although, again, the characters themselves aren't written fantastically, you do actively care about their relationships at least. And then you get to the last third, the heist portion of the film. This is where the movie should be at its absolute peak. And yet, it just manages to be boring all over again. What is the most entertaining part of a heist film? When the heist eventually goes wrong. You're constantly waiting for the heist to go wrong in this film. And then by the halfway portion of the heist, when you start to realize that everything's pretty much going according to plan, you sort of just give up all investment. And even the slightest, most tense parts of the heist, because again, you don't really care about any of the characters, you don't really care about whether they get caught or not. And because everyone's constantly wearing masks throughout the final portion of the film, you have no idea who's in trouble. So yeah, the beginning of the movie is tediously boring, the middle of the movie is actually where it's kind of fun, and then the end of the film is a complete mess. And in terms of a script writing level, you add every single character in this film that you do not care about in the slightest, about half a dozen subplots trying and failing to balance each other out in this film, and a script with such a tough guy complex in this film that every other sentence includes the word fuck. If I were to be nice to this film overall, I would say that it is very much a dad film. You know how your dad is constantly scrolling through on demand, skipping all of the legitimately good action films, and then finds one really obscure film that you've never heard of, but has one specific action star that they attach to, and then about 15 minutes into the film, they just fall straight to sleep. That is the magic of Den of Thieves 2. I'm gonna give Den of Thieves 2 a C-. The middle portion of the movie is actually pretty fun, and that's really the only excuse I can give to you to spend any amount of time on this film. Maybe if it's like on Netflix or Prime Video or something like that, but otherwise, skip it. Guys, stay tuned for my next review of Leigh Whannell's Wolfman, which... please be good. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best, and don't forget to click subscribe and click that bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.